Webb explains the VAR changes made following Luis Diaz's disallowed goal against Spurs. Webb, chairman of Professional Game Match Officials Limited, has announced that steps have been taken to ensure that the mistake that occurred in late September when Liverpool striker Luis Diaz's goal against Tottenham Hotspur was disallowed for offside is not repeated. While the first half of the match ended goalless, the Colombian put the visitors ahead in the 34th minute with a pass from Mohamed Salah. However, the goal was ruled offside by the linesman. Following the review, the VAR team at Stockley Park should have informed referee Simon Hooper that the on-field decision was incorrect, but a miscommunication resulted in the linesman telling the centre referee that the review was complete. Ange Postecoglou's side then won the game 2-1 when Joel Matip accidentally headed Pedro Porro's cross into their own net to break the Reds' unbeaten run. Through the released audio clip of the VAR team led by Darren England, you can hear replay operator Dan Cook warning England that they had misunderstood the on-field decision and therefore told Hooper to continue with the game. Of course, under the rules, play could not be stopped to correct the blunder and play resumed. They considered whether they could intervene to stop the game, but they realized that the rules of the game set by FIFA and the International Football Advisory Board did not allow that. There is a process in the laws of the game about how we use VAR to make sure that VAR is applied consistently in all leagues around the world, and it doesn't allow you to go back in those circumstances, and so they decided not to intervene, Webb said. Webb joined former Manchester United and Liverpool striker Michael Owen on Tuesday night's Match Officials programme. Appearing on MI Seat Up, the PGMOL chief assured fans that changes would be made following a series of mistakes in the last few weeks. We've put a lot of steps in place to make sure that the error that we saw doesn't happen again. One of the things that this brings into sharp focus is the need to iterate on some of the communication protocols that are really valuable in VAR to prevent these things from happening, Webb said. In the audio released by PGMOL, England can be heard claiming that the on-field decision was perfect, then swearing when he realized this. In response, Webb said VAR had fallen short in the incident and that new communication guidelines should prevent a similar mistake from happening again. We got all the officials together and we talked about the need to go through this process very carefully. We're really disappointed for the game, we're disappointed for our reputation. We worked hard in the days that followed to look at what we needed to do to take these kinds of measures around communications to prevent this kind of thing from happening again, he said. Webb also suggested that minor changes could be made to the regulations on VAR by the International Football Association Board to address the current issues. So what are the PGMOL's changes to the communication rules? We took the unusual step of releasing the audio recording shortly after this incident. We wanted to show everyone the loss of concentration, which for us is a very important human error. One of the things we need to do is to do something to ensure that if there is human error, it doesn't have the damaging effect that we saw in this incident. We want the on-field referee to communicate very clearly to the VAR what the on-field decision is. Then we want the VAR to go back to the on-field referee and confirm that he heard it correctly, he said. According to Webb, there is a shift from a quick communication to a fully confirmed communication model. This won't, of course, restore Liverpool's lost points, but it will help to avoid mistakes in future games. Fabrizio Romano gives an update on two midfielders Liverpool have been interested in recent weeks and months. The transfer of João Palhinha to Anfield in the summer transfer window is considered a possibility by Ian Doyle of the Liverpool Echo, while there have also been rumours about Manchester City's Calvin Phillips. Italian journalist Romano has the latest information on both players, but does not mention Jürgen Klopp's team. On the Fulham midfielder, Romano had this to say: "I am still told that Bayern will insist on João Palhinha in January. They will definitely sign a new midfielder this winter and Palhinha remains one of the names on their list. The player would also be in favour of this move, but it depends on the Bayern-Fulham talks. We will see later this winter." Regarding the Manchester City player, he said, "Despite links with Newcastle and Everton, I am not aware of any concrete talks. Phillips wanted to stay at City this summer despite some approaches, so he is still focused on doing his best for City and a decision will be made later in November or December. Newcastle will not make a decision on transfer targets until they know what will happen in their Champions League group." Palhinha's transfer to Bayern Munich failed to materialize on deadline day, leaving Liverpool with the chance to sign him from Fulham, although the Bundesliga champions still seem to be the clear favourites. Robbie Savage recently said the 28-year-old would be a great fit for the Reds, and his Premier League high average of 4.7 tackles per game this season shows just how effective he is as a midfield destroyer. Phillips, on the other hand, still seems keen to start at the Etihad Stadium, but even Rodri's suspension hasn't seen the Englishman break into the starting 11. This could perhaps make it easier to convince him to leave the team that won all 3 trophies last season, but it could also be interpreted as an alarm bell that he is not at the level to start for a team at the top of the league table. Of the two, Polhenia seems the more ideal target, but Liverpool's ongoing links with Fluminense Andre Trindade suggest he is their priority for the next midfield signing. Why wasn't Ryan Gravenberch called up by the Netherlands? The 21-year-old midfielder, who joined Liverpool in a £34 million transfer from Bayern Munich, has impressed for his new club. Although he is yet to start a Premier League game, Gravenberch has contributed a goal in each of his 3 appearances so far. Jürgen Klopp was full of praise for the new signing after the recent Europa League win, saying, "Technically he is unbelievable. His first touch is crazy, his pace is top class, he's a really good shooter, he's a really good player." Even more surprising is the fact that Gravenberch was not selected for either the Dutch under-21 or senior squads this October. Gravenberch has 11 senior jerseys to his name, having made his debut in 2021, but failed to make the squad for the 2022 World Cup in Qatar. He was also a regular in the youth teams, making 11 appearances for the under-21s. But his refusal to be called up to Michael Riesiger's youth team last month seems to have left him out in the cold. Shortly after completing his transfer from Bayern to Liverpool at the beginning of September, the young midfielder opted for international duty with the Netherlands under-21 team to focus on his club. Instead of taking part in his country's routine victories against North Macedonia under-21 and Moldova under-21 teams, Gravenberch opted to spend the 2-week period acclimatizing to his new surroundings and training at the AXA training center. While the decision has been condemned by some in his country, including Riesiger and first-team boss Koeman, it appears that it may be some time before Gravenberch is once again considered for both teams.